Today we're talking about if the INFJ is meant to be a lone wolf, and I believe this conversation is necessary because it's something that you read everywhere online. Yes, INFJs are the lone wolf, but most of the time it is not thought or talked through. And that in itself leaves a lot of INFJs living in this limbo of, yeah, maybe my life is better as a lone wolf because it's better than being part of a society where I have to pretend I'm somebody I'm not, but it still doesn't feel like it's amazing. It feels like, well, that's like the lesser pain. That's like, the life I have to live with. But it's definitely not what we would consider an INFJ epic life by any means. And the truth is, we can understand what parts of being a lone wolf are necessary for being an INFJ and how we can still live in such a way that we feel like we're growing, life is happening, we get to connect with people, but on our terms, and we still have that aspect of the lone wolf. That's what we're going to talk about today in detail. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to know more about starting an INFJ epic life on your terms, download the free poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. The link is in the description. And if you want my personal help, then work with me one-on-one. You find everything that you need down below as well. As an INFJ, you very often have to ask yourself the question, okay, how am I going to move forward? Sometimes maybe even when we're younger, we sort of accept that that's the way life is, and we don't even question so much if we could change something, if we want to change something. But at some point in your life, you really get to this crossroad, and it's a question of, okay, do I really give up my identity completely? Do I give up my dream of being able to connect with somebody on a deep level and just accept the fact that everybody around me is not like I am? I will understand them, but they will not understand me. And in order to be part of that group, I would have to adapt. I would have to compromise. I would have to pretend I'm like the people around me. That would be the one choice. The other way is to actually say, okay, I went through life so far, and what I recognized is that I continuously try to connect with people on a deep level in order for me to be able to be authentically me. I'm not pretending to be somebody else, maybe to that one person, because I feel there's a possibility for somebody to actually get me. And we realize that we've been going through this because we have this deep urge to be ourselves, to be connected, to be authentic. And it's just not possible if we play by the rules of, the chameleon side of ours. I mean, we have to understand, we as INFJs, we have our creative function, FE, extroverted feeling. And as a creative function, that is our way of being a way that the person around us wants us to be. But it's a skill. That's all it is. It's not who we are. And so you got to ask yourself the question, do I want to be liked for my skill, or do I want to be liked for how I like myself, for who I am? And so you really get to this point and you say, I cannot live like this anymore. I cannot pretend, and I cannot keep on waiting for some person to be there who will understand me, because, we've tried it so many times and it always backfires. It's not going to happen. We pretty much give up. And then we say, okay, so I'm going to go the lone wolf road, meaning I'm cutting people out of my life. I'm cutting off everything that will make me connected. Yes, I'll be connected in some kind of way to society, but as like the outcast of society. I will be an observer. I will be somebody who doesn't play by the rules, but still I'm not really opening up that much because I know that if I do, I'm going to get judged. And that is the point that I want to talk to you about, because most INFJs who choose to go the lone wolf route, they really get stuck here because they think there is no other way, right? These are just the two options and that's what I choose. The lone wolf at that moment is not happy. I want you to understand this. If you feel like, okay, I have no connection to anybody, I'm completely by myself, I'm in the forest, I'm totally fine with nature, great. Like, I'm not even saying that that's not possible. I'm just saying it's not the norm for INFJs. This is not the experience I've had with talking to, thousands of INFJs throughout the years. This is something that we struggle with, but it still feels like better than those two options. And then we have the INFJs who, of course, say, I don't want to be the lone wolf because, yes, I could do this. Yes, I could choose my authentic self, but the price would be that I would have no connection. I wouldn't be able to have any friendships. I wouldn't be able to be loved, to be accepted, to feel like I belong somewhere. And as much as we would like to say, I am a lone wolf, I'm a Sigma INFJ, this is like one of those typical things that is talked about on the internet very often, we have to admit that in the end of the day, we're still human. As humans, we have a psychological need for inclusion. We have a psychological need to be accepted in a group. We otherwise will feel abandoned. This is hardwired in our mind. And yes, I do believe that most INFJs have the capacity to be way more independent than most other types. I know for myself, I definitely am this way. I don't need to be included as much as others. I don't need to be part of what's going on in society. I don't need to be following some trends, but I still know that I'm human. I still know that I crave a connection and that this is important to me. And I've been in both of those scenarios, and both of them are not fulfilling. But again, it feels like there is no other choice. And I'm here to tell you, yes, there is another choice. There is a way for you to be yourself, to be authentic, and still have the connection that you need. Because again, we as INFJs, we might not need that much. We might not need to see people face to face all the time, every day, but from time to time you need that. You need some kind of connection, and only you know how much you need. But here is the interesting part. Based on how authentic you show up, based on how much you're able to really fill yourself up, the less interaction you will actually need. And the more picky you're going to be with who you connect with, how you connect with them, and what is actually something that uplifts you, what is something that adds to your energy. So I always like to use the metaphor of us INFJs being able to have a lot of space around us. And I just don't mean it in a way of ID distance. That can be the case. That's why so many INFJs have like long distance relationships and all of that. But it also means that when you have space around you, you are able to absorb other people's energy. You leave room for them. I mean, think about it. That's what INFJs are known for. That is one of our biggest skills and qualities. We are present for others. We can allow others to be themselves without losing ourselves. For a lot of types, this is much more difficult. That's why they're not able to actually connect such deep connections with people. For us, it's rather easy. It's our natural state. That's why so many people feel this connection with INFJs. They want to be close to them and so on. But at some point, we also want to be understood. We want others to be part of our world, of our identity. And very often, when you have allowed other people to be all of themselves and you've made room for them, then this is very often at the price of your own authentic self. It can be great for moments. It can be great to saying, okay, I give you space now. I'll give you room. Please shine. And once we're done, I can be myself again. I can really expand. I can be as loud, as colorful, as bright, energetically as I want to be. And it's totally fine. Very often, this is going to cause us trouble. We've experienced this more than once. We've had situations, people let themselves be known, and then we step out. We show our strengths, and the other person withdraws. The other person is completely taken back because they cannot create the space for you. And this is the dilemma that most INFJs find themselves in, and it feels like it's an either or choice. But if you say, from now on, I'm going to fill up, most of the space that I can with myself, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose it, and in such a way that I'm open to judgment. Something completely different happens than if you just say, I'm going to be the lone wolf. You can be a lone wolf in such a way that you say, I say completely absurd things. I say things that absolutely nobody can connect with, and I say it around people from whom I know they're not going to get what I'm saying. Like, I know this from the beginning. So that's one way to do it. That's not going to help you out. That's actually you subconsciously saying, I want to be left out. I want to be excluded because it feels safer than to either pretend to be somebody else or to actually share something that is truthful, that is authentic, that has a chance of being heard and a chance to being understood. The other way is just to completely stay quiet. Again, this is a self-defense mechanism. It's totally normal. There's no judgment behind it. I've done this so many times, but it's actually time to go to the next step. This is actually the typical codependent, independent, interdependent, line. This is what we have to do. Thinking of the codependent one is where you say, I give up of myself in order to be connected, in order to be understood, in order to have some kind of feeling of being needed and being included. That's the codependent side. At that codependent state, you care more about other people's problems than they care about themselves. So the next step is this independent state, and it is a necessary step, definitely. And that is to say, I'm going to go the lone wolf route. It is a necessary component, and it is a very scary one. But the point here is to first off say, yes, I can handle the pain of being by myself. I can handle the pain of not being accepted in the group. I'm willing to give up fake connection for me being myself. And this part has been probably the biggest challenge for me. It was really, really difficult, and it takes a lot of strength. And so it sounds like easy now when I say it, like, yeah, everybody should do it. But I think most people, and this is not just INFJs, are not able to make that step happen their entire life, because psychologically speaking, it is very tough. But as I always say, we're tough people. INFJs are tough-minded individuals, and we can make this happen. But now comes the last step, the interdependence. And that is key. That is the moment when you say, yes, I can survive by myself. I can survive not pretending, not playing the role, not using my skill to fit in somehow, but I'm choosing to be as authentically me as I possibly can. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to share it. And I'm not going to share it in such a way where I know people are going to block it off directly, because subconsciously that's already saying, okay, I'm rejecting myself so others don't reject me. But you actually think about, who could I connect with? Who would benefit from the things I know, from the way I feel, from the way I go through life? And trust me, there are so many people out there, not just INFJs, people in general. You can meet them online, you can meet them in different groups, political groups, you can do philanthropic work, you can do social work, it does not matter. The point is that you connect with people who actually are in need of what you have to say, of who you are, of how you add to the world. And you say, from now on, I'm choosing my dream life. I'm choosing to be somebody who works on sharing my truth, who works on expanding my world by connecting with people who could benefit from me being in their life, who actually have the capacity to like me for me liking me. And that's a completely different state than saying I'm connecting with people because I give them what they want, or by saying I'm going to be completely by myself and I'm going to be satisfied with that. None of these steps will give you the satisfaction that it will give you if you decide to be true to yourself and then you start fighting for yourself. You expand yourself, you allow other people into your world instead of saying I'm going to add to other people's worlds. Other people become supporting roles in your movie, and you by extension become a supporting role in their lives. But nonetheless, you stay the main character of your movie. You go down your path, you go towards your goals, you express and live out as authentically as you possibly can in this moment, and your main goal is to grow in authenticity, and that's going to change your life forever. If you want more help with this, definitely download the poster if you haven't done this so far. It gives you some pointers. It's specifically tailored to INFJs when you don't know where to start. It seems so obvious, but when you start doing the things in the different pillars, you will see the difference. You will see how your energy will grow, and you'll see how you want to express more and how you just continuously grow. If you want even more help, then work with me one-on-one. We've created amazing results. We have some testimonials on my site. You find all the information below. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video Why the INFJ Dark Side is the INFJ's Best Kept Secret.